Help support AMTV by becoming a patron, an AMTV staff member, and following us over on Twitter. Hi there guys, it's Adam Martin here, and welcome back to another instalment of the Now Review. And it's that time again, would you believe, we've got another release in the Yearbook series. Feels quite fresh off the heels of the last one. Of course, the last one was taking us with our first dip into the 70s in Now Yearbook 79. However, we're back on track, we're finally moving forward further into the 1980s. So join me as we take a look at the special edition CD and the vinyl versions of Now Yearbook 85. So, finally, people have been asking this for ages, ever since Now Yearbook 84 came out, but of course after that they started going backwards, so we're finally moving forward, and I'm very excited. I'm personally more of a fan of the mid to late 80s sound that was going on in pop at the time, so hopefully this will be the first in many continuations going forward. But let's just take a look. We're going to start, of course, with the special edition CD, as we always do. So the cover still continues the Now Yearbook image, if you like, or the style. So you've got the 80s Now logo there in its steely iteration there with the lightning bolt, which is Yearbook, and the numeral 85. Now the color, they always go with one main color for these. So 83 had black, 84 was blue, 82 was yellow, 81 was red, 80 was white, and 85 goes for green. Now I'm going to be honest, just as color schemes, green is not my thing. I don't wear green in my fashion. I don't like green on a lot of things. I'm all for going green for the climate, but yeah, I'm not a fan of this cover, to be honest. And that is purely personal taste. I'm sure there are some people out there who love the colour green. And I don't know, when I think of 1985, all the other colours sort of vaguely made me think of their respective year, but this one, I don't know, it doesn't make me think green. So yeah, a bit of a garish cover for me, but hey ho, what are you gonna do? As this is the special edition CD, it does have a thicker spine. It's more like a book, of course, which we'll get into why it's like a book later on, but I'm sure you all know that anyway. So let's turn it on around to the all-important track list. So on CD1, we're kicking off with Queen and One Vision, obviously a very iconic band of the era, and they still are, and it's a great track. And we have Philip Bailey and Phil Collins with Easy Lover, another good tune. Eurythmics with There Must Be an Angel Playing With My Heart, one of my favourite Eurythmics songs, absolutely. UB40 and Chrissie Hynde with I Got You Babe, which I think is a cover of what Sonny and Cher did back in the 60s. Sting with If You Love Somebody, Set Them Free. Midge with If I Was, which I think is one of his best solo efforts, really. Tears for Fears with Everybody Wants to Rule the World. I adore this song. I think it's aged really well. It's really beautiful to listen to. We have Aha with Take On Me. Whether you think it's a meme or a good pop song, it's here, and I'm so glad it is. We have The Power Station with Some Like It Hot. Go West with We Close Our Eyes, good hit for them. Dead or Alive with You Spin Me Round Like a Record, of course that had to be here, one of the early Stock Aitken Waterman successes. Frankie Goes to Hollywood with Welcome to the Pleasure Dome, an interesting choice, because, forgive me if I'm wrong, I believe this got big as a single way later in the 90s when it was re-released. I'm sure maybe it did top 20 back in 85, I'm not sure, but it's a good tune. You have Simple Minds with Don't You Forget About Me, which of course was famously heard in the film The Breakfast Club. Tina Turner with We Don't Need Another Hero, another movie soundtrack of course from one of the Mad Max films. Phyllis Nelson with Move Closer. Brian Ferry with Slave to Love. Paul Young with Every Time You Go Away. Elton John with Nikita, and we close off CD1 with U2 and The Unforgettable Fire. So 19 tracks, a lot of them I certainly recognise, massive hits of their era. We'll jump to CD2 now, where we start with one of the best ballads of the decade, which is Foreigner, and I Want to Know What Love Is. Just beautiful, beautiful track, absolute banger. We have Marillion with Kaylee, which I must admit in recent years has grown on me a lot. I never used to like it, but it's becoming a big banger for me. Huey Lewis and the News with The Power of Love, of course, heard in Back to the Future. Bonnie Tyler and Holding Out for a Hero, which was first heard in the film Footloose. Pat Benatar with Love is a Battlefield, ZZ Top with Legs, Billy Idol with White Wedding, John Parr with St. Elmo's Fire. He's got an interesting story behind him, definitely check him out. Dan Hartman with I Can Dream About You from the Streets of Fire soundtrack, not seen that film, don't think I actually know that song. Maria Vidal with Body Rock, DeBarge with Rhythm of the Night, which I didn't know was from a film, The Last Dragon apparently, but that's a fun tune. Steve Arrington with Feels So Real, Ashford and Simpson with Solid, Chaka Khan with This Is My Night, Princess with Say I'm Your Number One. I think that was that another Stock Aitken Waterman? It might have been. Loose Ends with Hanging on a String, Amy Stewart with Friends, Kool and the Gang with Cherish, Whitney Houston with Saving All My Love for You, again one of her earliest hits there, and we finish with Lionel Richie with his big tune Say You, Say Me. So that rounds off CD2, another 20 tracks there, taking our total to 39. CD3 kicks off with Kate Bush and Cloud Busting. Now, I know a lot of people wanted this to be Running Up That Hill, because of course that was 85. Why it's not here is anyone's guess. Could be rights, could be the price of the fee to use it, I don't know. But we've got Cloud Busting, which is of course from the same album, Hounds of Love. The Smiths with How Soon Is Now. The Cure with Close to Me. The Cult with She Sells Sanctuary. Art of Noise with Close to the Edit. Propaganda with Jewel. Arcadia with Election Day. Tears for Fears are back again with their song Shout, which again is another big tune. Howard Jones with Things Can Only Get Better, Nick Kershaw with Wide Boy, Stephen Duffy with Kiss Me, Redbox and Lean On Me, King and Love and Pride, Scritty Politti with The Word Girl, Simply Red with Money's Too Tight, Fine Young Cannibals with Johnny Come Home, The Style Council with Walls Come Tumbling Down, The Dream Academy with Life in a Northern Town, sounds like my life, Bananarama with Do Not Disturb, and we finish with Strawberry Switchblade. And since yesterday, another 20 tracks, that's 59 we're up to. Let's move on to CD4, where we begin with Paul Hardcastle and the song 19, which of course famously basically references the whole Vietnam War. In fact, it's about the Vietnam War, and it's a bloody good dance tune as well, so I'd recommend that one. Harold Faltermeyer's here with Axel F, which of course was from Beverly Hills Cop and more infamously used for Crazy Frog a lot later down the line. Colonel Abrams with Traps. Do you know what? That's a hidden gem in my opinion. That one certainly. Bronski Beat with Mark Almond and I Feel Love / Johnny Remember Me. You have Divine with Walk Like a Man. Baltimora with Tarzan Boy. Animotion with Obsession. DC Lee and See the Day. Sade with The Sweetest Taboo. Alison Moye with That Old Devil Called Love. Fergal Sharkey with A Good Heart. Katrina and the Waves with Walking on Sunshine. People either love that one or hate it for how positive it is. Sheila E. with The Bell of St. Mark. Level 42 with Something About You. Billy Ocean with Loverboy. 5 Star and All Fall Down. Sister Sledge with Frankie. Elaine Page and Barbara Dixon with I Know Him So Well, which of course I believe originally was from the musical Chess. Jennifer Rush with The Power of Love, a stunning power ballad, lives up to its name for sure, and one of a few songs in 1985 called The Power of Love. Shaking Stevens close off with Merry Christmas Everyone. Oh, okay, we finish on a Christmas tune, fair enough. It still gets played today. So that's another 20 tracks, so I believe that takes our total to 79. 79 tracks across 4 discs. Shame they couldn't get it up to 80, but hey ho, such is life. I'll give my opinions on the track list a little bit later, but now we have to open this up and have a look what's inside. So as always, the discs are housed in these pouches, and disc 1, they're all green, as you'd imagine. Disc 1 has a red trim around the words and numbers, disc 2 has more of a pink trim, disc 3 is more of a purple trim, and disc 4 is more of a blue trim. Again, I'm not the biggest fan of just the colour green, so this isn't for me, but hey ho, some of you might like it. And the actual meat and potatoes of the special edition, of course, for those who don't know, if you get the normal CD, you just get the discs on the inside. Whereas here, you get the special edition booklet, so you get sort of a little introduction to the year 1985, what was going on, not just in music, but in the world, where the Now series was at. Going further along, you have actual information about the tracks, which is great, harkens back to the old days of Now. So, you know, where they placed in the charts, when they were released, a bit of information about the song, about the artist releasing it. It's really good stuff. And further along, of course, we have the quiz, a quiz about 1985. Always love a good quiz. And more production information. You get some great shots of the single covers for a lot of these tracks as well. So yeah, basically, if you're getting the special edition over the regular edition, this is what your extra few pounds is going towards. I suppose a bit of a sturdier case as well, but mainly it's going for the booklet. On one hand, I do think it is a shame that the idea of having, you know, a booklet with information about the tracks, which used to be a staple in Now releases, has now been relegated to, you know, a special edition feature that you have to pay an extra, you know, £4 or £5 for. I do think there's something a bit sad in that, but I guess it's just the way it's going. You know, people don't stop and read their CD booklets, let alone buy CDs, although CD sales are on the up apparently. But yes, that is the inside of the special edition release. Now, talking about the track list, since this is a main yearbook, you know, this isn't a forgotten hits or hidden gems or anything, so there's quite a lot of these 79 tracks that I do recognize right off the bat, which is good. You know, it's trying to appeal to people who know a lot of this stuff. But again, like the yearbooks tend to do, there's also a good handful of songs on here that I'm not as familiar with or I don't recognize at all. Like, I'm not even sure of the artist or the song. And it's always a good discovery for me. I like discovering new tracks. Sometimes I love them. Sometimes I hate them, to put it mildly. But as I say, the further we go into the 80s, I tend to like the general pop sound that was going on in the 1980s and all the various offshoot genres as well. So I'm hoping that I'll find this a good one. So yeah, nice track list, nice breadth of the familiar and the unfamiliar. Obviously, some people are going to be upset. A lot of tracks have been released on Now albums before. Some will be upset that some tracks didn't make the cut, like Running Up That Hill for whatever reason, but I think the selection is pretty decent. So that rounds off the special edition CD, but now, dear viewer, we're going to jump over to the 3LP vinyl edition. So here it is, the vinyl version, and as always, you know, these things are presented with the same cover, so if you like green, you get even more of it. And one big criticism I have of these is that none of these vinyls are ever gatefolded, which I think is a huge shame. They cram 3 LPs into like one standard sleeve, which is fine, but I've noticed some people say it's resulting in their copies being more creased, a bit more damaged, which is never good. We don't want damaged copies, do we? So yeah, same cover, let's flip it on back and see which of the 79 tracks made the cut, because of course, as always, not all of them will. So on LP1 side A, we've got One Vision, Easy Lover, There Must Be an Angel, I Got You Babe, If You Love Somebody Set Them Free, If I Was, and Everybody Wants to Rule the World. Pretty solid start, 7 straight up bangers that most people will be familiar with, makes sense to kick off the first LP. Next, on side B, we have Take On Me, Some Like It Hot, We Close Our Eyes, Things Can Only Get Better, Lean On Me, Kiss Me, Love and Pride, and Welcome to the Pleasure Dome. I'm surprised Frankie made it here. Maybe that song was a big hit in 1985, bigger than I thought it was. I always thought it was bigger later. I do love it though. That's another 8 tracks, so 15 so far. LP2 kicks off with Kate Bush. Makes sense, she's sort of been the artist of the year, like her resurgence, bless her. You've got, so Cloudbusting, How Soon Is Now, Close to Me, She Sells Sanctuary, The Word Girl, Jewel, and Election Day. And I must admit, a lot of these songs I'm not overly familiar with, like particularly the ones by The Smiths, The Cure, The Cult, etc. Propaganda as well, Arcadia. Not too familiar with those ones. LP2 side B, on the other hand, has 19, great start to that. You Spin Me Round, I Feel Love, / Johnny Remember Me, The Bell of St. Mark, Solid, Say I'm Your Number One, Hanging on a String, and That Old Devil Called Love. Certainly a very poppy side to that there. So I believe that's another 15 tracks, so that's 30. And on LP3, we're starting with The Unforgettable Fire. Funny how that closed off CD1 in the other version. Don't You Forget About Me, Power of Love, the Huey Lewis in the News version, We Don't Need Another Hero, Holding Out for a Hero, Love is a Battlefield, and Legs. Again, interesting mix-up of tracks there, so that's another 7. And to close off side B, we have Saving All My Love for You, Say You, Say Me, I Want to Know What Love Is, Kaylee, Nikita, Slave to Love, and The Power of Love, the Jennifer Rush version. I think that's a great closer. Definitely a more ballady side to finish things off. And on LP3 total, it's another 14 tracks. So on the 3 vinyl LP, you're getting 44 tracks. That's 44 tracks compared to the special edition CD's 79. And again, just to give my thoughts briefly, I think they've done well. They've picked a lot of the biggest hits on here, which makes sense, but they've included a little sprinkle, not as much as the CD, but a little sprinkle. They've included a little sprinkle of the maybe not so familiar tracks, so again, fair play to them. They've tried to spread it out evenly, which I commend them for, to be honest. But now, let me take out one of these to show you what the actual vinyl disc looks like. You all know that they have precedent for coloured discs, so let's have a look at this. And here you go. It is green. Very, very, very green. I must admit, I don't mind the green on vinyl so much. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's like the circular shape of the disc or whatever, but I'm not too fussed about this being green. It's the cover just got to me. But yeah, so here's the LP. You've got the Now Yearbook logo in the middle. Obviously, it tells you what LP it is, what side it is. If you've got any of these vinyl releases before from the Yearbook series, it's pretty much the same thing, except it's green. Very, very green. Had you got that yet? It's very green. So yeah, that in a nutshell is the vinyl version. So, looking at both of them then, so we've got the special edition CD and we've got the vinyl. Of course, there is the standard edition CD, which I choose not to pick up, but if you just want the all songs, you're not bothered about the booklet, you don't want the vinyl, then that is available for you as well. I believe that retails for $9.99, so a cool £10, just like all the other major Now spin-off releases. The special edition CD tends to retail for $15.99, and the vinyl version tends to retail for $29.99. But as always with the yearbooks, if you're particularly interested in the vinyl, I would get that as soon as possible because these are limited edition. They seem to change the guidelines, don't they? They always seem to change the guidelines on how many of these are available. I'm certain when this all started it was 3,000 vinyl copies, but I've heard different. Some have said 5,000, some have said just 1,000, but if I've learned anything, it's probably best if you're interested in the vinyl, if you can, is to pre-order it in advance or get it as close to release date as possible, because once these are gone, I can guarantee you people online are going to try and sell them for double, maybe even triple their price, and it's just not worth it. The special edition CD too, I mean, they tend to go out of stock quickly as well, but I'd say if you don't get the special edition, if you're not fussed about the booklet, it's not the end of the world because you can still get the regular release as well. In terms of whether it's worth it, I mean, I love 80s pop, so I mean, it's a yes from me. As always, just check the track list, maybe have a listen to some tunes online first, and make sure what you're getting is something you'll enjoy, or if you just want to take a plunge, you don't know any of these songs or a lot of them, and you want to take the plunge, then feel free. But, you know, another fairly solid addition to the Now Yearbook release. And personally, I hope we keep going forward. I want a Now Yearbook 86 next in terms of the main line. That'll be good. I do think we'll get a Now Yearbook 78. We'll go back further eventually. But it'd be nice to go forward for a bit now. Maybe finish off the 80s. I don't know. But that's all for this installment of the Now Review. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please remember to leave a like on this video. It really helps us out. And do subscribe to the channel as well. We'd love to have you here aboard with us. I've been Adam Martin from AMTV. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Thank you to our patrons for helping to support the show, and a special thank you to Macra, Hooks Media, Ben Freeman, Ethan Carberry-Holt, Bruce Danton, The Broken Kitsumanoid, Tobos Krotz, and Polsky Liz, our AMTV staff members.